Let me share my screen, please. Okay, so in the last class, we have studied that what are the infrastructure, or let's just say what is the global infrastructure of Azure. Okay, so in that we have discussed Azure geographies. So can anyone tell me what is Azure geographies? Anyone?
Geographical location where the Azure services or Azure data center is available, regions and availability zone and all.
Okay, so yes, so Azure geography is a particular place where we can just say that Azure services are present for, just like said, Azure data centers or everything else. In that geography, we have regions. So regions are basically those locations where Azure create its data centers. So from the last class, we know in India there are three data centers of Azure. So first one is in Pune, second one is in Chennai, and third one is in Hyderabad. So Hyderabad is still not working, but yeah, it is going to be launched soon. In those region, if Azure has created more than one data center, then that particular region is known as availability zone. And why Azure creates more than one data center? Because most of the traffic of that particular country or that particular geography came to that particular region. That's why. Okay, and then finally we have edge locations. We also check the use case that why we have a edge location there, because to send or deliver the content fastly to the users, we have to use CDN services. And I think after that we have see that how to create an account, what are the subscriptions, what is our account hierarchy. So I believe all of you have created your accounts and take the subscription.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so yes. Let's start then today's session. So today will be mostly focus on two things. Not this. The major thing that today we are going to understand is identity and management. So this is the main topic that we are going to study. And around this topic only, we are understanding the services of Azure, also called Azure Active Directory. Okay, but before understanding about Azure Active Directory, first of all, we have to understand about identity and management. Identity and management is the basic theme for every basic theme to create a user and to manage its permission. Okay, so let me just write it like this. Now, can anyone tell me that? Okay, let's before going into that. So let me just write the subtopic also. What is identity? And then second is what is access management? Okay, so these are the two things that we are going to understand today. Now, so the first thing, basically, see, to run any organization, or let's just say to run a cloud or a cloud computing platform, is a very big task. Correct. So you have to create data centers. First of all, you have to create a data center and make sure that it has power backups and everything. Once you have created that, then you have to purchase multiple servers that are virtualized and that has a cloud tool installed so that everything can be automated. Now, after doing all of these things, let me call it as a data center. Then this is server 1, server 2, and then this is server 3. Okay, so now to manage all these servers, let's just say something happened to this particular server, then to fix it or to maintain these servers, we required manpower. Okay, and the manpower is not limited to one or three people, one or two or 10 or 20 people. It can be up to 100 or 1,000 people, depending upon the size of your data centers. Now you have 1,000 users to manage. Okay, so see, you can hire 1,000 people or you can hire two, three, or 4,000 peoples. But you also have to manage those 1,000 users in terms of their access, in terms of their identity. Okay, so this particular person belongs to this particular department, so it is his identity. And what are the access that they have? Okay, so let's just take a very basic example here. So right now, if you have to log in into this class, you have to get a link, okay, from Sham sir or me. So that link is basically an identity that you can access to this particular class by using that link. Let's just take that as an identity, for instance. Okay, and after entering in the class, what are the action you can take? Like if you can share the screen, or if you can start the recording, or let's just say anything else if you want to do, then that is your access. Okay, so this is a very basic difference between identity and access. Okay, and now this thing, and now we need to understand that this identity and access management needs to be done on every organization level basis also. So if you talk about your organization, or if you talk about any organization, they have thousands of workers or thousands of users that are going to access the services and then manage or maintain it. But first of all, before giving them any access, or let's just say any kind of an identity, we need to make sure that each identity is unique. So it is not going to be like if two identities are same and one person has done something called mishap, and then second person is getting blamed. No, so each identity should be unique. And after that, according to that identity and according to their attributes, we have to assign permissions also to them. Okay, so to resolve this issue, there are certain services that are created in the market, and those services are known as directory services. Okay, so these services are legit called directory services. So I think you all heard about a telephone directory, right? So in those telephone directory, there are certain attributes according to which names and phone numbers are given. You can think it of like this only. So directory is kind of a table only where each user has its unique name. Sorry. Each has its own name, then a unique ID. Okay, unique ID is generally a number in most of the organization, like the employee ID or something like that. And apart from that, it's designation, and then what is its access. Okay, so you can think it like directory is just like a table only where we are maintaining each and everything. Okay, so because of this, we can easily find out. Okay, so let's just say that we have a student named as Ajit, and we are giving it a unique ID of one, and his designation is a student. Now Ajit can only access the content that are given to him by us. Okay, so they have a very limited access. Now we know that okay, so Ajit can only access some data or videos or the PPTs that we are sharing. But let's just say we have another user called Mayank. Okay. Now there are multiple Mayanks. Okay, so the name can be multiple people have same name. So again, we are giving him a unique ID too, and we are calling him as a trainer. So Mayank is a trainer. Now Mayank has full access to all of the contents, or let's just say to access the content or to upload the content. Mayank has all the access to do that. Okay, so like this, we are creating different designations, and according to that, they have different accesses. Okay, so initially this particular pattern is followed to basically manage the people, because again, when the number of people are going to be increased, it should be properly defined. Okay, so this user has this certain kind of a permission. So to provide all of this thing, we have some services called directory services. Some of you who has some basic Linux background or in organization, you all have heard about LDAP services. Any one of you heard? Let me just cross check it also.
Yeah.
Okay, so LDAP is also a kind of a directory services only. It is mostly famous in Linux. Okay, where using LDAP services you can manage multiple users. Okay, and again the another famous directory services that is widely used in organization is Active Directory. Okay, so initially Active Directory is a very popular tool. Okay, so in most of the applications, or let's just say in many of the sites, Active Directory is properly used. Okay, so Active Directory is basically provided by Microsoft, and it is one of his hero product where most of the organization uses Azure, sorry, not Azure, Active Directory in initial days. Okay, so basically Microsoft gave him a particular software called Active Directory. They would install this particular Active Directory in his own organization, and by using this, they can easily manage their whole global user database. They can create multiple units called OUs, office units. Now, according to these office units, they can just simply designate different kinds of department that their office have. Just like the same hierarchy that we have understand in the Azure Enterprise Enrollment, where first one is the enterprise account, and after that we have multiple departments. So office units are also just like a department only. So I'll create a office unit called developers. I created a office unit called support engineers. We also have created an office unit called, let's just say, HR, then support, just like this, legal, and all of this. Okay, so these are the different kinds of office units that you can create in this particular Active Directory, and after that you can just easily add users in it. So while you are enrolling into an organization, then simply what you simply all the details are get filled by a particular HR or a particular onboarding team member, and then they added it. Now, why an organization require all of these things? So this is a one thing. Okay, so we have to give access, but that can also be easily managed, right? So multiple. So if there is a bigger team to manage user, then it can also be easily managed. In earlier days, we are talking. Okay, but if we are talking about any organization, let's just say any kind of an organization after 2005 or 6, they are using multiple PaaS services. Okay, PaaS services again. Can anyone tell me what is the full form of PaaS? Uh,
Platform as a service,
Sorry, I write platform, right? Sorry, SaaS.
software as a service.
Yeah, software as a service. Okay, so many organizations are now using software as a services like Microsoft Office. Okay, then Jira Cloud, let's just say Jira, or what are the basic services? Let's just say they are also using some kind of Power BI platform. Okay, so there are a lot of services that they are using. So for all of these services, they have to purchase licenses to use those particular services. Correct. Now, these licenses are expensive, and now we have to manage that also. Okay, so this particular user has these licenses. Okay, according to their designations. Okay, so now these Active Directories also plays an integral role. Okay, so I have a developer. Okay, and that developer needs to access Jira as well as Microsoft Office for all the mail and Excel and PowerPoint presentation thing. Okay, so all of these things have a record. Okay, so this is a particular user and these have this access. Okay, so it in earlier days it is maintaining some records like this, and after that, after writing 2008 or 2009, so there is another revolution in Active Directory. Now Active Directory will all easily, all sorry, now Active Directory can easily maintain a user login credentials also. Okay, so what this particular line tells, we'll understand it in a bit a minute. Okay, so let's just assume that right now we don't have any directory services. Let's just talk about earlier days before directory services are coming. So to get login into a particular server, what do you have to do? So let me tell you, it's a user and it is the server in which you have to log in. Okay, so earlier days, what they are doing, they have created a small database inside this server. Okay, and this particular database contains all the credentials or sorry, all the details about who are the users, who is able to access, and what are their access levels. Okay, so a user basically sent a request to this particular server. Once a server get these details, then this server will check the details in this DB. Okay, and then when the DB says, okay, so this is the correct user, then it will send him a token or a result that, okay, so you are authenticated and you are able to access. Okay, so this is the basic approach that people are taking. But now think it like this. So basically, this approach is only for Microsoft Office. Okay, so Microsoft Office we have get Microsoft Office, and we are doing this particular approach to access it. Apart from that, I also have, let me copy it. Apart from that, I am saying that I also have a service called Jira. Okay, that also uses something like this. Okay, and after that, I am saying that I also have another service. Let me just call it as a Confluence. Okay, after that, I also have another service. Let me call it as a, let's just say GitHub. Okay, again, I am saying we are doing this before the before coming on to the directory services. So none of you think like, okay, so we have single sign-on right now nowadays. Okay, but again, we are saying that it's a very old time that we are talking about. So now for each different services, we have to create a separate credentials. Okay, so now let's just assume that we our company uses around 15 or 20, or let's just say 30 products. Okay, as a SaaS. Now each product has its own credential, and those credential needs to be created significantly different from each other, so that if one credential is going to get compromised, then not other credentials are going to get compromised. Now the problem here is that how many credentials you are going to grasp. Okay, so it's a one thing that, okay, so you are only creating it, but again, we are normal humans, and normal humans tends to, okay, I forgot the password. Now assuming an organization like Google or Microsoft, where they are using 100, or let's just say at least 20 to 30 products, then you have to maintain a kind of a sheet where you are saying, okay, so these are the usernames and these are the passwords. These are the username of this particular service, and this is the password. And also the problem is that while creating usernames and password here, there can be a discrepancy where the username can also be a different thing. So let's just say that there are two Macs in a certain organization, and I am initially registering from the Microsoft Office, so I get a username called as Mac252. But another Mac initially registered to Jira. So when I'm trying to take a username called as Mac252, it can be a case where I can just like, okay, so as Mac252 is already taken. So instead of it, I am taking as Mac2998 or 1997, something like that. So now username can also be different for each of the services. So it's a very big, not a very big task, but it is very challenging to grasp all the username and password. So instead of that, most of the user what they are doing, they are simply adding those passwords in a table or in an Excel file, and then they are saving it. Okay, so it's a very basic way to store it. Okay, now when these things happen, so this is a very major security concern for any organization. If someone anyhow sees that Excel, or if anything happens to that particular Excel, or if it is goes to another person hand, then they can easily access to their accounts, and they can do whatever they want to do. Okay, so this is the first problem. No single sign-on. In the short form, we can just simply write there is no single sign-on. Second, the problem is the security of the server. Okay, so we are talking about no single sign-on. Okay, so that is a problem, but there is another problem of this particular security of this particular server. See, a user is accessing this particular server, and then they are going to be checked by DB. Now, let's just say that if I am an attacker or a malicious user, and who particularly writes or add a script with my request, that if there is a database server, so I am going to do a SQL injection attack, where we can inject a particular information in that particular SQL. Now, if that happens, so when the request goes to the database, it automatically injects a false information, and then I can easily get authenticated there. So there is a bigger problem of security when we are attaching a database, or let's just say any kind of an authentication process to that particular server only. Okay, because see, most of the attackers directly do attacks on these particular kinds of server. Okay, so that is a second bigger problem that we face earlier. Okay, before directory services. Is it clear, guys? Any doubts or anything that you think? Okay, so these that can also be a problem before single sign-on.
Yeah, so if a user leaving the organization, suppose, then they will be difficult to find out where all. where all he was having the access, and to remove his access.
Yes, correct.
खाना पसंद लगने लग रहा है था पी के।
Sorry. Yes, that is also correct. So let's just say if user is enrolling or if user is leaving an organization, then it's very hard to track, okay, so what are the logins that that particular user has, okay, and then how to remove it and by going one on one. Okay. So we can simply write like no centralized management. Okay, so these are the three major problems. So now after this, now there is a new thing that comes into a picture called Active Directory or directory services. So now directory service comes into picture. Okay, before jumping into that, can anyone tell me what is a single sign-on, guys?
Single sign-on is like a centralized user management. So if the user wants to log into a particular service like to laptop or to Office or to Jira account, there will be a centralized directory where all the users, their password, their related access privilege tokens and everything will be stored. So that once I try to log into, let's say, to my laptop or to the Office account, it will go to that Active Directory or will verify it, and we'll see that okay, says user is allowed to use this service and what type of privileges I have on that particular service. It will be granted access to me on based on that, and it will reply that okay, this is the user is authenticate user or fraud users.
Correct. So basically now what happens is, let's just take example of how right now we are trying to log in. So when you are trying to log in Azure portal or in any website like Gmail or anything else, now how you are doing that? Okay, so again, this is our user, this is our server, and this is our Active Directory. User or Active Directory, and this is our server. Now, before ever user is going to access or doing anything, there is a trust relationship that has been set up between these two services. Okay, so before jumping or anything, like first of all, we need to connect our server as well as to the Active Directory. Okay, otherwise, how this Active Directory is going to authorize you to log in it? So there is a trust relationship that needs to be set up. Okay, so initial trust relationship has been set up. So in this particular trust relationship, Active Directory provide him some tokens, okay, to verify. So whenever a particular user has coming with Azure Active Directory, let's just say Azure Active Directory is approving some user, then they are taking some bits of that token, and when server receives it, it will check with its own token. So if it is sent from that particular directory or not, and this is how it authorized. Okay, so that is again a further part. Let's just start. So how now authentication happens when we do a login into Azure Active Directory or sorry, in Azure portal or anywhere. So whenever I hit, I am entering my username and password to a particular site. What is happening? Our request doesn't directly go to the server. It goes firstly. Let me just change the color. Firstly, it goes to the Active Directory. Okay, so now this is the first step. So our request simply directory goes to Active Directory. Now this Active Directory uses check this user credentials. Okay, so if it is a correct user or not, the username and password are correct or not, and if that particular user is allowed to that particular server or not. Okay, so all these things are now managed or checked by Active Directory. Once these things are checked by Active Directory, it sends a token to this particular user. Okay. Now Azure Active Directory sends a token to this user. Now Again, this all are happening with the blink of an eye of second. The URLs are changing. Now this user take this particular token to this particular server. Now, once this token is coming, so as I told you earlier, that now our service is going to check with the existing token that we receive when we set up a trust relationship with our Active Directory. Okay, again, in this token, there are bits and pieces that are going to be matched from this token. And if this token matches, then server sends a result to the particular user that you are welcome to log in. Okay, so now this is the fourth process where we are matching the token, and then this is the fifth process, fifth step where we are getting our result. Okay, so now you are going to access this particular server. Okay, so this is how a basic login happens right now. Okay, so this is the now the basic approach. All the Active Directory given tokens are going to be matched and checked, and then after that we are able to log in. Now we can set that, okay, so I can do it with single server. Now you can do it with multiple services. So now see, only you have to set up a trust relationship between that particular service, and apart from that, all the process is going to be same for every time. Here is black. Yep, here it is. So now when I want to attach to another service, I have to create another trust relationship between Active Directory. And if another service needs to be attached, then I will create another trust relationship here. It should be here only. Okay, so like this, I can attach multiple services. So again, let me just write the names. We are saying that it's a Jira service. Jira is a ticketing service. And let's just say it is a GitHub service. Okay, so now this particular action is known as single sign-on. With a single username and password, or sometimes we called it as an SSO also. Okay, so with a single username and password, we are able to access on multiple sites or multiple accounts. So the very basic example of these things, we all have a Gmail account. Okay, using that Gmail account, we can access our LinkedIn account. We can access Instagram. Okay, if anyone plays games, then we can access Epic Games or Rockstar Games. Okay, so how we are able to do that? Because Google also provides directory services, and many organizations uses that particular directory services. Okay, and they already have a trust relationship set up. Okay, so if there is a certain user that is coming with a Gmail ID, so now we don't need to take any kind of a pre-registration. Okay, so what is your name, what is your email address, what is your age? Now all that information is already stored on Google, and due to the trust relationship set up between these accounts or these services, they can easily provide you the access. Is it clear to everyone? Any doubts still here?
Yes.
Sham, sorry. Yeah.
Yes, you are asking something.
No,
Sham,
I mentioned, sorry, I mentioned it's clear, sorry.
No, but I think Bhuvnesh is asking something.
yeah, yeah. Sham, so my question is the first step you said it will go to the Active Directory. Isn't it was supposed to, let's say, go to the server and server knows that, okay, he has to check with the Active Directory if the user is authenticated user or not. Means
No.
how we knows that, okay, for the particular service or server, the first step or the redirection will happen to the Active Directory. It's where we will be knowing this information.
In the URL. When you enter any URL, right, where
Mm-hmm.
you are redirecting, so in the URL only you can get or you can see all the information. So where it is going first. Okay, and see again, the whole purpose is we have to eliminate the username and password thing, password storage from the server. If you are directly
Correct, correct.
accessing to the server, then again you need to authenticate that initial username and password, right?
No, no, no. What I'm saying that let's say user is putting his username and password, it will reach to the server. Then server will send this username and password to the Active Directory for the authentication, and Active Directory will authenticate and will release the, let's say, the access relation RABC for the user, and then based on that server will grant the access to the user. Isn't what supposed to happen in that way, or?
No. The basic criteria is only initially all the requests sent to that particular directory service only. Okay,
Okay.
because see again, whenever if a server is directly receiving any kind of a traffic, okay, so it should already be a pre-authenticated ones. Okay, because see, if you are seeing that all the traffic initially we are sending to a server, then you can also send multiple traffics, right? You can also jam that. See, for security purposes, it's not like that only if a username and password get authenticated, or it is only the way to make a server fault. Let's just say make a server down or make a server hack. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
the main purpose of all of this thing is if we are sending any kind of a traffic to a particular server, it should be pre-authenticated initially.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the first factor because see again, the way you're thinking is also correct. So initially we send the request to server, then server can authenticate to Active Directory if that is a particular user or not. Okay, but see in that case, a server is going to send a request to Active Directory. Okay, and then it is checking, but initially server has to take that request take that request, right? So if that
Correct.
request is unauthenticated or if that request has some kind of a malicious content or anything else, then it can hamper the server, right?
Yeah. Agree.
Okay, so to avoid these particular situations, initially all the requests sent to the Active Directory and then it get a token from there.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
and yes, you can easily see all of this process when you are logging into any particular site. If you go to LinkedIn, you can easily check that the URL is redirecting or changing whenever you are doing any SSO there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so yes, we have taken example of like Gmail. So if you are a Gmail user, then you can easily log in into these particular accounts. Okay, so this is the basic identity part that we can see. Okay, so we are getting from Active Directory. Now, see, in initial days, Active Directory is a PaaS service. Okay, right now it's a particularly SaaS service, but in earlier days it's a PaaS service, platform as a service. So you can purchase Active Directory from Microsoft. It is come as a platform, or let's just say as a software, and then you can easily install that software in your own hardware, and then you can manage your own OUs or your multiple business units and all those things. Okay, but later on, when Microsoft introduced Azure Cloud. Okay, and in the initial, the first thing that Microsoft did is they migrated this Active Directory to Azure. Okay, and then called it as an Azure Active Directory. Okay, so when we are saying that Azure Active Directory, so you also have to understand that okay, so Azure Active Directory is mostly same as Active Directory, but after some period of time, Microsoft is again doing multiple changes into these particular directory services to come and make it as a cloud directory service. That's why it is known as Azure Active Directory. And nowadays, it is also don't known as Azure Active Directory. It's simply known as Entra, Microsoft Entra. Okay, so now in the course content also, in Microsoft course content, if you're going to see, there is no Active Directory that is written. So it is written as a Microsoft Entra. Okay, so I think the word Active Directory or Azure Active Directory is also going to be retired very soon, and it is known as Microsoft Entra. Okay, because in Azure portal, if you want to check anything, then it is simply shown as a Microsoft Entra. Okay, is that clear also? Microsoft Entra and Azure Active Directory both are same thing again. Now, what are the benefits that we are getting when we are adding an Active Directory to our sorry, let this sorry, to our whole authentication process? So the first one that we have understand is single sign-on. Second one is that we can also add two-factor authentication. Okay, so when you are adding any kind of a directory service, then the major benefit is that you can attach a two-factor authentication. Apart from the username and password, if I have to verify that a user is legit or not, I can attach some another authentication like you get an OTP, you get a text, okay, or let's just say Mostly these two things are come. So either and you have to add an extra OTP that comes to your mobile or on your email, or you can attach a text. Okay, so this is a particular text that I have sent you. You have to add. Okay. So another benefit, we can attach two-factor authentication. Another advantage of using an Active Directory or directory-based services are you can restrict user on basis of regions, positions. Okay, so this is a very nuanced thing, but yeah, it is provided by directory services only. So we can easily restrict our user on the basis of their location. Okay, so I think some of you heard about. So for some of the, if you are working in an organization, so for a certain or for a particular project, you have to be on that particular site only if you want to work on that particular project. Okay, so it is a basic requirement by that vendor. So if I am giving you a project, then the person who are going to be on those projects should be present inside in that particular city only. Let's just take an example of Delhi. So in Delhi, there is an organization called Morningstar. Okay, and Morningstar is giving its project to TCS. But Morningstar put a condition like if you want to take this project, so all the users that are going to be assigned in this particular project should be available in Delhi only. Okay, so yes, TCS says, okay, so we are going to hire or we are going to place the candidates who are in Delhi location only. Now, how Morningstar is going to identify, okay, so all the users are present inside Delhi or not. Okay, so they are going to attach a feature, they are going to attach a particular option in their Active Directory where they are saying if the user is not on the basis is not present in Delhi, okay, then you that particular user is not going to be allowed to log in. Okay, and how they are going to check if the user is present in Delhi or not by using their IPs. Okay, so this is also an advantage that is provided by Active Directory. They can easily find out what is the location of that particular user, and then they can restrict it on the basis. Okay, and then yeah, so these are the major advantages that is given by Active Directory. Is it clear to you guys?
Yes, Mank, it's clear.
Okay, and now all of this thing. Okay, so till now what we have learned is to do only one thing. Okay, so all of the setting up of Active Directory, providing you access to create or to give one thing to all of the user, that is identity. Now, can anyone tell me what is the definition that you can give to an identity? What is an identity? And again, if it is also a very good interview question also, whenever you are going to give a cloud interview, if someone is going to be asked you about IAM, so the first and the very basic question that can someone can ask you is what is an identity? Can anyone told me what is an identity?
A unique identification or unique name for a user.
Yes,
True.
can be something like that. Yes. Anyone else? Mohammed, Ajit, any one of you want to try?
Yeah, a unique identity or identity. It's the unique username or name that's given to a certain user with a certain amount of access to us to let's say to a server to or to certain services which are allowed or which are not, maybe.
Okay, but again, it should be a one-liner. See, so for definitions, I told you earlier also like what is cloud computing, now identity. So see, these are, let's just say the definition of these things can be many. Okay, but if you want to be stand out, then it should always be a one-liner that is very clear also. So now, according to me, what is an identity? Okay, so it is a thing that can be authenticated. Okay, so see, by the definition of identity, you cannot define identity. Okay, so it does not has a certain meaning. But what is a identity basically? Why we get identity? Okay, so initially, just you think it like this: why we are getting an identity? Because by using that identity, a organization or a certain people can authenticate. Okay, so this is a genuine user. That's why you create accounts, right? You create an account in Google and then Google gives you an identity. So my identity in Google is S9252. So Google authenticate me using this identity. So identity is basically a thing that can be authenticated by anyone. It can be a site or it can be anything. Now the way of this, so now this identity or now the way of this authentication can be anything. Okay, so either I'm getting a username and password. This is the first and the simplest way. If it is a Linux or Windows based server, we can get certificates, not certificates. Let's just say we can get files, PEM files to get authenticated. Okay, so if you want to take login into Linux server, then you have to use a PEM file, right, to login. So it is also kind of an authentication only. That PEM file is basically an identity that is given to you. Using this identity, you can log in into this particular server. Okay, or with the help of some kind of a certificate. So in some services like Raven DB, which are cloud-based service, you get certificates from them to get access. Okay, so either it can be a certificate that allows you to access to that particular site. Okay, so this is identity basically. Only a thing that can be authenticated. Is it clear to you guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, so the major functioning of Microsoft Entra is to provide you identity. Okay, so the first and the major task, let's just say not task, but the first and the basic thing that Microsoft Entra manages is your identity only. Okay, so when we create our account, now let's just, okay, now before jumping into that, first of all, let's log in into the Entra also so that we can understand. Okay, so again, I am believing that everyone purchases the subscription of Azure portal. If not, it again does not do many things, but yeah, just take the subscription. So log in into Azure. Let's just go. Okay, so now one more thing. As I earlier told you that Microsoft renames Azure Active Directory to Microsoft Entra. So now you can access this Entra from two ways. Okay, mostly depends upon the organization to organization. If your organization uses Azure Cloud, then you can simply go to Azure portal and then you can access Microsoft Entra. This is the first way. But many of the organization sometimes doesn't use Azure Cloud, but they use some other services of Microsoft, like Office or Power BI or anything else. So for those users, they also have created another platform called Entra platform. Okay, so this is nothing kind of a platform. Is it is basically a different site where you can go. Okay, so first of all, we'll go to this particular site only, which is particularly designed for this. So that so the URL is simply entra.microsoft.com. Okay, and in some basic organization, most of the user have access to this particular site only. So let me just write my username as gmail.com. I have saved my password. I have to be straight in sign in. Now this is a basically our second factor authentication that we can get, which we are talking earlier. Yeah, I received my email. So it is 399. It's 251 only, right? Okay, it's 351, sorry. 340. Okay, so this is this particularly is the Entra site. So by default, it takes me to my default directory, and then simply I can explore this page. Okay, and these are all the services that Entra provides. So as we can see, favorites, as I told you earlier, the major thing that is managed by Microsoft Entra or Active Directory is identity. So they have provide identity, they have provide protection account on those identity. They also have identity governance for multiple users, how to verify IDs, permission management, and then global secure access. These are some things that Microsoft provides. Okay, but now let's just come to home. So either you can access Azure Active Directory or Microsoft Entra from here, or simply you can also go to portal.azure.com. Okay, so here you can write Active Directory. Okay, then it. Okay, so I think they have also removed Active Directory word also. Okay, so now it's gone. So you can just simply write Entra, Microsoft Entra ID, and if you can go there, then we also get the same page anyhow. Okay, so either you can come go to that particular page or go to this particular site. Okay, so this is the first thing. Now we have to understand a very important thing about all of these services. If we come here, anyone has any queries? Okay. Why I have this page? So just a second, please. I'm not able to minimize it. Yeah, now I'm able to do it. Okay, so when you create an account in Azure, let me just come here. So guys, please pay attention to this particular thing. It's a very important thing to understand what we are getting and what. Okay, so when you initially create an account in Microsoft, okay, so that is the first approach that I told you to create an Azure portal account. So let me create. So this is Microsoft. This is Microsoft AD. Okay, where Microsoft is managing all the users that are creating account. Okay, so this is Microsoft directory. And now in this directory, we are creating multiple accounts. Okay, so Mayank has an account. Let's just say Ajit has an account. Panchu has an account. Okay, and let's just say Narayan has an account. Okay, so there are thousands of users which has an account. Okay, so when we have created our account in Microsoft, so Microsoft add us in his own directory. Okay, so now these are the so Microsoft known. Okay, so now these are the users that are present inside my directory. Now this user can access different platforms like Power BI, Power Apps, or portal.azure.com or Entra sites. Now, when we come to portal.azure.com, okay, so again, when we do a sign in on portal.azure.com, first of all, we go to Microsoft directory. It will check and authenticate everything, and it sees okay, so this is the Mayank Sharma. Then it sends to our request to Azure portal.com. Okay, now this part comes only when we are doing our first sign on, when we are creating our account. Okay, then when the request go to the portal.azure.com for the first time, when I have created my a new account in portal.azure.com, Microsoft create a new instance of Azure Active Directory or DAR, Microsoft Entra for this particular account. Let me just phrase it as an Azure Active Directory only. Okay, so Microsoft create a new instance of Active Directory for this particular account. Mayank. Okay, now this directory is attached to this particular account. Okay, so without this directory, this particular account of mine does not exist. Okay, and this directory or this instance that is created by Microsoft for us, that directory is known as tenant. Okay, tenant is a very common word that you are going to get listen when you are talking about any kind of an authentication, either it from portal or either it from CLI or either it from any kind of an API. You always have to pass the tenant ID. Okay, so tenant is that unique ID where Microsoft knows, okay, so I have provisioned a new directory for this particular user. Is it clear? What is tenant? Tell me this first.
I prefer that you only, if possible, please repeat it once, please.
Yes, sure. So yes, again, what I'm saying is, let me, okay, we'll do this only. So earlier in the first class, sorry, not in the first class, I think in the second class, I have told you guys to create an account, right? First of all, in the Microsoft. Then if you already have a Microsoft account, then you are able to log in into portal.azure.com. Now, at that time, what I'm saying is, when I am creating an account in Microsoft, Microsoft stores my information in its own Active Directory because Microsoft is a global service. Okay, and millions of users uses Microsoft. So Microsoft also have to manage those users. So Microsoft has its own Active Directory. Okay, so we are saying it as a Microsoft directory. Now, for particularly Azure, portal.azure.com, or let's just say for Azure Cloud, Microsoft knows that using Azure Cloud, a user can integrate multiple services. Okay, or we can just simply say that a single Azure account costs us, sorry, if you want to purchase an Azure account, you also have to take in subscription. And if a user has 1,000, let's just say if an organization has thousands of users which want to use Azure Cloud, it is not going to be feasible to create 1,000 accounts. So instead of that, what they are saying is, for a single account where you are going to get purchase a subscription, Azure will create a tenant or Active Directory for you. Okay, and using this Active Directory, you can manage multiple users on that single account.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So Azure is saying that I am creating a new instance of Active Directory in your account, okay, and named it as a tenant. Why? Because now I know that a single subscription can be cost anything. Okay, if you are using larger services, then it can cost 100,000, 10,000, or $50,000, or let's just say rupees in instance. But if you have 1,000 users, it is not going to be feasible that 1,000 subscriptions needs to be purchased. Now, instead of that, you can attach those 1,000 users and manage those users in Active Directory. Okay, is it clear, guys?
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, that is not very convincing, but okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So just a small question here.
Yes,
Let's say you log into the Azure cloud. So first it will go to the Microsoft directory. It will authenticate you as a user as a Microsoft user. And then
yes,
it will allow you to log into the portal. And then there you will have a default Active Directory or your own Active Directory where you are going to manage the portal Azure related services or the users and other information.
correct.
Now, suppose you have given access to me also on the same account, but still I will be first going to the Microsoft directory, will be authenticated
No,
from
no,
there.
no. At that time, if I'm giving you access to my account, let's just say my account, then you are going to authenticate from my Active Directory, not to the Microsoft Active Directory.
But how the portal.azure will understand that, okay, first I need to go there.
Because of your username. So when you are going to use my username, then the domain name is going to be different. It's not Gmail or anything. It's my
Okay.
domain name. That's all.
Okay. Okay. So based on the domain name, it will be identifying that which Active Directory will be using.
Yes.
Okay, I got it now.
And if you don't have a domain name, then Microsoft will create on Microsoft.com, something like that. Okay, we're going to see that also. No worries.
Okay, okay,
But
sure,
yeah.
sure.
Okay, so now Microsoft give us a new directory for us to manage or maintain users. Okay, and by default, when we are creating a when a new account is created and for that particular user, that directory is created, that user is the admin user for this directory. Okay, so by default, I can do anything with this directory. I can add users, I can add groups, I can add many more things. Okay. Okay, so now let's just come to the home page. Not a lot of information here, so we'll explore this page also in some time. Okay, before this, we'll come here because it will provide us more information here. Now, the basic information of this particular directory is what is the name. So it's our default directory. Okay. What is the tenant ID? So this is our tenant ID. What is the primary domain of this tenant ID? So this is sman252.tk. So if I am going to create a new user, so the user, so let's just say that I created a user for Ajit. So the username of Ajit is going to be Ajit at the rate sman252.tk. Okay, so this is its username. So whenever Ajit is trying to log in, so it will redirect it to this Active Directory so that he can access it to check if Ajit has access or not. Is it clear, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, and then finally we have license. So what kind of a license that right now we are using? So right now we are using free license. Now this is a directory that we can have. According to that, multiple organizations will provide you multiple kinds of directory. Okay, so that's how you can see I am part of my own default directory. I am part of a Deloitte directory also, Deloitte USA, and I am part of this Grass Solution directory also. See, all have different domains. Okay, so a single account can be part of n number of directories. Okay, so let's just say that you work with 1,000 organizations, you can have that 1,000 organization as your directory if a user is added there. Okay, so using this, you can simply switch to that particular directory also. If you want to see the resources that are created in Deloitte, then you can just simply click switch, and then you are going to be redirected to a different portal where Deloitte services are, where Grass services are running. Okay, so these are the directories which are your part are listed here. Now, let's just say that, okay, I have this particular directory. We can also create our own different directories. Okay, so this is the default directory that is given by Microsoft. Now I'm saying that, okay, so I want to add another tenant of Active Directory. It can also be possible. Just simply just simply click on Manage Tenants and then simply click Create here. You can also create tenants here also. Okay, this is not part of our course right now, but yes, this is an option that you can do. And to restrict this particular thing, Azure also removed Azure Microsoft Enter ID. Okay, so now only organization user can create it. Okay, organization user in terms of who has license only create this Microsoft Enter ID, or let's just say tenant ID. But earlier it is available for everyone. You can just simply come here and you can also create n number of Active Directories for you. Okay, so this is an Microsoft Enter ID, and right now you can think you can create Azure AD B2C, business to consumer. Okay, so if you are going to manage your organization users only, then it's an Microsoft Enter ID. But if you are creating this single sign-on for every user who is going to use your application, then it's Azure AD B2C. Okay, so remember this basic difference also. So from here, you can come and create multiple tenants. But now Azure has removed this feature because a user can create n number of Active Directory. And all of this instance is set up by Azure and then maintained by Azure also. That's all. Okay, so these are the basic information that we need to know initially. Any doubts still here?
More good.
Okay. Now, so after coming onto this portal, the first thing that we have to do is create some users. Okay, so so there are three particular ways where you can create users. The first one is to create a direct user. Okay, that user has my domain name or other another domain name that I have. Okay, so this is the first way, and this is the basic way also. So let me just create a user. I'll call it as an Yadendra. Okay, so the principal name is Yadendra and smag253.tk is domain name. Either I can choose this or I can choose this also to be a domain name. So I am choosing this. Now, so this is the principal name it has. I'll just enter the name. So the password is auto-generated ones. Okay, that is fine to me. Account should be enabled. So if you click it, user will be created, but user is not able to access to his account because it account is disabled. So we are enabling this account. Next are the properties. What are the names? What are the last name? What kind of a user it is? So either it is can be a guest or it can be a member. So right now we are creating a member. What is the authentication info? So I can add some certification or some kind of a detail that provides, okay, so it is a certificate based authentication. So when the user add this certain certificate, then only he can authenticate or log into it. So right now we are not adding any kind of that. And I'm taking that, yeah, then there is a Linux admin. Company name is XYZ. What is the department ID? All of these things can be skipped. Okay, so these are the locations. And what is its usage locations? I'm telling that it's in India. Okay, then click on next assignment. Okay, so till now we doesn't understand about authorization. Okay, we are only understanding about identity. So we are skipping this part. We'll see this part when we are learning the second most important thing managed by Azure Entra is authorization. At that time, we'll see what are the groups and roles and all of this thing. Okay, then simply next create and then just simply so this is the default password that we get, so let's just copy it. Okay, and then simply create. So now yeah, so now a new user is created called Yadandar at the rate 2 smag252.tk. Now if you want to click here, you can see the attributes of this user. Okay, so this is the overview, like what is the principal name, is it account is invitation is enabled or not. You can monitor this user also. Okay, monitor in terms of how many sign-ins that user has done. Okay, and which time the sign-in is happened. So you can monitor this also. But to do that, we need require a premium license. We have audit logs. So if that user has login or not, and if how many times this user has login or not, we can see here as well. Okay, if that user has sign-in logs or not, we can diagnose and solve the problem if that user has certain of it. Okay, and likewise, there are multiple things like what are the licenses that is assigned to this particular user, or what are the devices that are allowed for this user. Like when we are getting a laptop from our organization, they also set up Microsoft Intune to manage that particular device. So all that information you can get here. Okay, if it is applied, and what are the rules that this user has assigned on this particular platform. So right now, none. Okay, now before diving more into it, just simply sign into this user. So let me open the private tab. I'll select portal.azure.com. This is the name. Now this is the password that I am getting. Now you remember guys, when I am showing you how to create a new account, you can see I get the same banner and the same thing also. Okay, so at that time also I have created a new Active Directory user. Okay, password doesn't match. We can just simply so anytime if you are giving your own password as well as it will going to ask you to reset. I don't want any further action till now. So I'll set ask me later. I want to state sign in, yes. And it will create an account for me. Again, this account doesn't have any kind of a subscription. Okay, but you are able to see Microsoft Entra here. Okay, you are able to see Microsoft Entra. You are able to see the number of users. Okay, you cannot change anything on this. Like you cannot create any user, you cannot add or manage or edit any user. Okay, but you can view everything in Microsoft Entra. Okay, so this is how you can create a normal user which is enrolling into your organization. Okay, as a full-time employee. This is the first thing. Now the second thing is, let's just say that you are hiring some person for a project work. Okay, it's an on contract job, on contract basis job. So what you can do, instead of creating a user, you can invite a user also. Okay, this external user is not part of your organizational domain. Okay, but for some period of time, you are inviting this user to perform some task. So those kind of users are known as external users. Okay, so let me. Can anyone share me his email ID so that I can send an invitation? Anyone, guys?
Yeah, should I type it in the chat
Ah,
or?
yes. You can type it in the chat and send to me, or everyone can also.
I sent it
Uh,
in the chat.
Outlook, is it your personal account?
Yeah,
Okay,
looks
you have
like a
personal
corporate
account.
one, right?
Okay. No, mostly not many users use Outlook as its own primary account. No issues. So you just simply have to write the email address. Then what is the display name that you want to give him? So this is the display name, and I am sending an invite to him. Okay, so it is depend again totally on Boonwich that if he wants to accept it or not. I can write message like this is the use this account for the deployment. Okay, and I can also add any CC who wants to be in recipient, and then this is the invite URL. Simply go on properties. We can also define the name and everything for this external users. What is the role that I want to give him? Again, right now we are not giving it. Simply come on to the review and invite and simply invite. Okay, so you get invited here. And did I have mentioned my email address also here? No, I think so. So again, I am going to invite myself also. And I will call it as my nothing I need to add. Review and invite and simply invite. Okay, now let's just go to mail.google.com. Okay. This is another single sign on that again we are talking. Give me a second, guys. I'll stop sharing my
Sure.
screen. Let me just filter out only the messages. Yep. So yeah, let me share it. The whole screen anyhow. Yep. Okay, so now you get an invitation, something like this. Okay, Microsoft invitation. If you click here, then Microsoft invites you on behalf of default directory. Please act on this email if you trust this organization. So the organization is default directory and the domain name is smack252.tk. Most of the time, organization name can also be changed. Okay, because again you want to be known sending any kind of an invite from your own organization only, so it can be changed to any kind of an organization. Then this is the domain and this is the invitation link if you want to accept it. Now let me copy this link and let me open it in Edge or in a private tab, otherwise it will go into the create any kind of an habit, because I already have an account with this email ID only. So okay, I have to redirect on this only. So just simply click on accept invitation here. Okay, and once you click here, so I don't know why it is redirecting us to this page. Did you get the invitation, Bhuvnesh?
Yeah, I get the invitation.
Can you share your screen for a second? Let me just
Yeah,
show you
sure.
from here.
No problem. Just give me 1 minute. Let me see if I can share. I think I cannot share.
Okay, you cannot share.
Okay, let me share. Now I can. I will send you the request.
Oh yeah. Now try to share.
Okay, so I am
Yep.
sharing now.
So just simply select accept invitation.
Okay, so it's entering the other window. And this way it will go to my default login, right?
Let's just see.
Yeah.
Okay, so simply select switch accounts. Okay, try to
Invite.
log in into Azure portal once. Portal.azure.com. And use the similar value. Okay. Now can you go to on that settings page? Yep.
Setting
Okay.
page is here.
You not get you didn't get invited successfully then. Can you again go and click on accept invitation? No, I think that will open my apps. Does not exist in tenant. Okay, let me cross check. It identities are from under this. Okay. Okay, try this username once, but I don't think that you have password also. It should not happen like this. You get an invitation.
Should I share you my the other email ID? Maybe you can
Mm,
send it to that and we can try.
Give me a second. Let me just cross check it. If I re-edit the passwords, then okay, let me do it in my Just a sec. Let me think. Okay, so we'll do one thing. Okay, so I'll do one thing. So
Mhm.
guys, do one thing. We'll say this in next session as well. So you all created your account, right? So now please note down my email address and send me the invitation. Okay, we'll do like this, and let's just see if it is my from my account only or from everyone. So this is my email ID. Okay, sorry, it's in direct message. Let me just add everyone in meetings. You can stop share.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so this is my email ID. Okay, so again, this is a task for today as well. So just simply go and invite me, create a new invitation user, and then you can just simply add this particular username. And then I get the invitation, and in the next session, we'll try to log in into each of your account. Okay, so yeah, we'll at that time we'll see if it is still not working, then we'll figure it out what is happening. But yeah, right now, not to waste more time here. So this is the second way that you can add a user. And then finally, there is a third way called bulk in operations. Okay, so either you can do a bulk invite for the users, and to do that, you have to download a particular CSV template, and then you have to fill all the necessary details that needs to be mentioned that are mentioned in the CSV, and by uploading this particular CSV you can create n number of users. Okay, so this is also a way, and this is a way for those users who are very new to directory services. If you are already owning a directory service, or if you have some kind of a user management tool, then this particular step is not required. But yeah, if your organization came from a background where you never use a directory service, then yes, you can add all the information on the Excel, and then it can be uploaded. Okay, so this is the third approach that we can take. Now, let's just jump into another things. Apart from that, the domain thing that I have entered my own. So if you want to add your own domain name, there is an option called custom domain names. You can click here. And after clicking here, you can see that there are two domain names. And if you want to add more, then you can also add more here. Okay. But to do all of these things, sorry, first of all, you have to purchase a license from the Microsoft to do all of these things. Okay, because see, for a free trial or a free version, Microsoft allows us to create users and manage users. So you can give permissions. But to create things like these, you want to create your own domain name. You see, whenever I'm trying to log in from SMAC 252, there is a banner of grass in the backend. Okay, and this goes for every organization also. If you're part of an organization, so whenever you log in from that particular ID, there is a banner of that organization in the backend. So that is known as company branding. So you can do that also. But how you are going to do that? First of all, you have to purchase a license from the Microsoft to perform all of these things. Okay, so now for licenses, there are where is the list? License features, all where it's okay. So I cannot purchase a license from here as far as okay, so this is a very big limitation in my account that I mostly see. So let me try to log in into the cognitive once more. Did I get stuck here as well? Licenses, the free trial. Yep. So I there is some issue with my account anyhow because I have created or taken multiple licenses and multiple changes. That's why. So these are the three default licenses that you can take: Microsoft Entra Suite, Microsoft Entra ID Governance, and Microsoft Entra ID P2. Okay, so these are three licenses that you can take. So now all of these three licenses provide different privileges, or let's just say different accesses to you. Like if you take Microsoft Entra ID P2, So it will give us more benefits, like we can do our customization branding, we can add our own domain name, we can enable user monitorings. Okay, if you are taking Microsoft Entra ID governance, then you can easily implement two-factor authentication, and that authentication that I'm talking to you, like if a user is based on India only, then you are able to do that. Then only that user is able to access it. You can also do that with Microsoft Entra governance ID. So all of these three licenses allows you to enable multiple features in your account. Okay, so by default, you can see that I cannot purchase anything here because I already use these licenses. And after doing this, if you don't have any organization account, you cannot purchase this license as well. Okay, so there are some strict limitations of getting these licenses. That's why if you are not a part of any kind of an organization, then you cannot purchase these licenses. Okay, but for trial you can do that. So in your accounts, because it is created for the first time, you can purchase these licenses. Okay, so I'll show you. Bhuvnesh, can you please share your screen one more time? This
Yeah,
is a
sure.
basic limitation that I think everyone faces, so we are also facing, so please.
This the account.
So this is a very basic one. I'll show you, then after that we'll move forward to another thing. For the and the topic is groups that we have to understand. So yeah, go to enter ID, and you also have to do same. You can search, go down and see licenses.
License name this year.
Now get a free trial. Now
Yeah,
you
I
can
can
have a
have
free
the
trial of Microsoft Entra V2.
this one.
Yep. And just come here and simply activate. It's
Okay,
for
I
I
will
think
click on
30
activate.
days. Yes.
Beginning of the activation. Okay, it goes to the activate.
Let me see if I have any work account which have this. Google.azure.com.
So I have to enter here work or school email address only. It will not allow me to personal email.
No, it is not allowing personal email, right?
Yeah, it's asking for the work or the school email address only.
I have a location of this. We'll see. So I have an enterprise account also. I'll just go to home for a second. We don't have any licenses. Enter ID, manage licenses, get free trial. Okay, I think here I can take free trial. Man.sharma@quadrant.com. Okay, so this is how it generally works. So you come here and it will provide you this. I don't know why Microsoft is restricting on these part, but yes. The offer that you want is unavailable. This might because offer has expired. Yeah, I know that I have activated
It's
any licenses, but see. Oh. Um, yes, now we got it. So I think I have used P2 anyhow. So no issues. We have enabled Microsoft Entra Governance. We get around 25 licenses. We can just simply add try now. Then let me refresh this page. So let's see. Oh, yeah, I know. I have this. Manages all products. Yeah, so now I have Microsoft Enter ID coordinates. Now I can assign these licenses to certain users and then they can use it. So let me just assign it to myself first so that I can show you some things. So where's our users? Let me just select Mayank here, Mayank Sharma. And you can come here and then you can assign licenses to this user. So I have these licenses by default. Okay, that is also a thing, huh? Okay, cannot assign license. Just a second, please. Okay, they have done a very good thing to overall this. Okay, so from here you can purchase a license. Once you get purchase a license, you have access to this kind of a dashboard. And in this dashboard, you can come here. Okay, again, this is not a actively part that you have to see. But yeah, then after that, you can come to this particular portal. And in this portal, you can assign licenses and all of these things to a user. So these are the licenses. I can just simply click here, save changes. Okay, so it is implemented. And then again, if I come here, users, my Sharma. Okay, and if again we come to licenses, then these are the no, four licenses that right now I have. Okay, any doubts still here? It is going to be a little bit complicated, yeah, but this is how Microsoft has created it. So you can purchase a license with an work account or a school account, and after that you can just easily manage those accounts as well from this Office 365 Admin Center. And by default, this Admin Center is not accessible to anyone explicitly if you purchase the services. Okay, but I don't know why Microsoft add these to those licenses to this, but yeah, if you want to use those licenses, then you have to come onto this particular portal only to manage that. Okay, because by default, directly you cannot manage any kind of a licenses in a lower portal. Is it clear? Any doubts still here?
That is fine.
Okay. Yeah, a little bit of our traffic and like that. Now, okay. So where we are in the portal. Okay, so now we have multiple users which are invited and which can access my account. Now, now we know that okay, so I have multiple users. Now I also want to manage those users as well. Okay, so instead of assigning licenses to a single user, I want to make sure that each and sorry, there are multiple people. So let me create a diagram for this. So here it is. So I have two teams. So one is developers, or I'll call it as a dev and QA team, and then we have a DevOps team. Okay, so whenever a new user, let's just say Muhammad is a dev and he's joining. So I have to provide him a certain five licenses. Okay, so each and every dev and QA get five licenses and 10 permissions. Okay, and for DevOps team member get 15 licenses and then 30 permissions. Okay, so when Mohammed is going to add, I'll just write it as a M. So when Mohammed is going to be part of a dev and QA team, so I have to assign a 5 license and 10 permissions. And let's just say when Mayank is going to assign or join DevOps team, then he get 15 licenses, 30 permission. Now instead of a single user, we are assuming that 50 devs and QA are going to get hired for this project, and 5 DevOps engineer is going to hire for this project. Now, foreign basic admin who is going to give you permission of all of these things needs to manage. Okay, so I have to assign 50 users these 5 licenses and 10 permissions. Okay, so that is a typical task for a single user or let's just say for an engineer. So how that engineer or a user is going to manage that each person is going to get the licenses that they are assigned for that particular project or let's just say department, and the necessary permission that is required in the department. Okay, so to make easy of these things, what they have created groups. Okay, so firstly, we have created users. So there can be a number of users. Now these users are divided into groups, and you can also call this group as departments or the word called OU, office units. Okay, so now we are dividing users onto these groups, and now all the permission and the licenses instead of assigning it to a single user, we are assigning these things to the groups or the OUs. Now, if a user want to access that, you want that permission. So instead of adding that permission to that particular user, I'm adding that user into the groups. Okay, so now a single user can be part of n number of groups. Okay, and let's just say that if group A denies a particular policy, denied a particular permission, and if group B allowed that permission, that can anyone tell me then what is going to happen? Okay, let me give you an example. Group A denies VM access is not available. So you cannot get access of a virtual machine when you are added to this group. Okay? But in group B, VM is available. VM access is available. Then if a user called Mayank is added into both of these groups, so what is happening now? Can anyone tell me? Is I am going to get access of a VM or not? And let's just be like everyone give it yes or no. It's very simple. Yes or no, guys?
Can you repeat the question, Mike?
Yeah,
I
so I am
just
saying,
didn't.
so I have two groups. Okay,
Mhm.
so in group A, we are saying VM access is denied.
Okay.
And in group B, we are saying VM access is available.
Okay.
Now Mayank is added to both of the groups. As I told you earlier, a user can be added into n number of groups. So now
Correct.
Mayank is able to access a VM or not?
Yes, he
He will
should
be.
be.
He should be able to access because he's a part of Group B as well.
Okay, now,
Sorry.
no issues. Now, here you need to understand one thing, guys. So this is an interesting thing in particularly cloud. So there are two type of denies. Okay, so if you are adding any kind of a deny policy, so there are two type of denies. First is implicit deny, and second one is explicit deny. Okay, so by default, all the policies that are created for groups or for users are defined as are created under implicit deny category. So now what is an implicit deny? So the meaning of implicit deny is if I am saying that I am giving 10 permissions and those 10 permissions are uh, read, read only for virtual machine, let's just say app service, storage, um, network, and monitor. So by default, I have created a policy and attached to a group that only we get read only access for these four things. Okay, so this is basically a definition of implicit deny, that I am not mentioning that a user doesn't have any access or a user is not able to access to a certain service. But when a user is getting only access of these 4 or 5 services, then apart from all these services, the access for that user for another service, let's just say firewall, is by default disabled. Okay, let me phrase it more in more clear words. Okay, so whenever we are assigning policies or creating policy in cloud, we are saying that a user have this access. Okay, so it can be a virtual machine or app. So I am saying Muhammad has an access of virtual machines. Okay, so it is an implicit deny in a way that apart from virtual machines, Muhammad cannot access anything. Okay, so this is an implicit deny where we are just saying, okay, so these are the accesses that I am going to given you. But apart from that, if you get role assignment, or let's just say if you get permission for another service, you can access those services as well. Okay, so this is an implicit deny. Now, the second term, that is an explicit deny. Explicit deny are very rarely implemented in organizations. Okay, but there are certain policies that are created with explicit deny. In explicit deny, I am saying that virtual machine is not accessible. Okay, virtual machine is not accessible to anyone. Okay, and if I assign this policy to Muhammad, or let's just say in this case Mayank, okay, now this is an explicit deny that is defined by me. Now no other policy can override this policy. Okay, so now if VM is not available, is an explicit deny is mentioned in group A, then if it is allowed in group B, then also Mayank cannot access a virtual machine. Is it clear to you guys?
Yes, it's clear. So only if it is mentioned as an explicitly denied.
Yes. Okay, but yeah, in this example, you are correct. You all of your guys correct. Man can access because it is allowed in group. Okay, because again, it is not as I am hard quoting it. Okay, so VM is not available or implementing as an explicit deny here. Okay, but yeah, you always know that in deny also there are two things. So most of the
Mhm.
organization use implicit denies because it's a basic property in cloud also. Because if you are allowing explicit deny, then it is a very stringent. So it is very stringent that no one is going to access that service. Okay. Okay. So any doubts again till here? I think no.
No doubts,
So
man.
now we can again go to default directory, come on manage and come on groups. And now here we can create multiple groups for us. So not tutorials. We have total. I have total two groups, admins and test. Let me remove these. Delete. Okay. Now we can create group. So a new group is created. So now whenever you are creating groups in Microsoft, there are two types of group. First one is security and second one is Microsoft 365. So whenever you are creating groups for Microsoft Azure, always select security. Okay, because if you are selecting security, then it is for our Azure portal. But as I again said that now most of the Microsoft services are aligned with Microsoft Azure platform. Then if you already have an Office 365 setup, okay, and that is also linked to this Active Directory that you have in this portal. Give me a second, please. Yeah, sorry for the disturbance. So you can select Microsoft 365 and it will create a security group for Microsoft 365 service. That is Outlook service. So make it as a security. We'll call it as a DevOps. You can give anything. Then the membership is kind of an assigned. So I need to manually assign these users. So right now there is no owner. So I'm adding myself as an owner. Mayank. And who are the members? I'll just say Bhuvnesh is the member and create. Now, whenever a user is created, I can add that particular user into this particular group. Okay, and now in this group, I can manage the permissions, owners, and roles of this group. Okay, what are the permissions that I want to assign to this particular user? I can manage it here. Okay, how many members that are going to be assigned here? I can manage those things also. So now instead of creating anything, I can just simply add all of these users here and manage those users. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, clear.
Yes.
Okay, and now the very basic thing that we need to understand for this particular identity topic for today is when you delete a user. Okay, so you can delete as many users if you want. So I don't know what are the accounts that I have deleted. So let me just select these three accounts. A user can be deleted directly. It's very easy and straightforward. You can come here and you can restore that deleted users. So once a user is deleted, it can be restored till 30 days. After 30 days, that user is permanently removed. Okay, so till 30 days, you can easily restore this user as well. Okay, so yeah, this is the last thing that I want to show you. Okay, so till
So
here
if
I
a
have.
user is deleted, what will happen to the associated objects to him? Like if he has created some virtual machines by his
That
name or
is
his
still
account,
that is still going to be created.
that will remain there only.
That will remain there only. Okay. Yep. So any another doubts you have?